All right. Again, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you can join us on this wonderful day. I would like to thank you. This is part of our GIS series that we are hosting for the entire month of March every Wednesday at 3. And this is the first part of the series, and it is called GIS Data, Where to Look and How to Gather. Basically, what we're going to go over today is kind of an overview of what GIS data is, where you're able to access some free available where you can access some government type data, some freely available data, and we'll talk a little bit about file formats and downloading these because we do need to touch base a little bit. And then if this catches your interest, some of our upcoming workshops will actually talk about using data and how we can help work with some of that information. So bear with me. This is a very short slideshow, and then we'll start doing some live searching. I forgot to click it, but there's my name, there's my picture. That is my email. You are welcome to contact me at any time with any questions about GIS that you might have. So, and again, this is what we're going to go over today. I'm sorry, I just am forgetting to click my slide push forward button. But the websites we will be talking about today are data.gov, the USGS data repository, and we will talk about the official state of Florida geography data portal. And there will be plenty of time for questions once we're done, where we can go over anything that I may not have covered that you are hoping to learn today. So one of the very first things that I want to make sure we go over are the kind of the general types of GIS data that we can have. So there's vector data, which by definition, as you see here, is vector graphics composed of vertices and paths. So what that is going to look like, if you look at our graphic example, is that middle box. It is made up of polygons. They made the picture of that building and road with polygons and lines. There's also point data, where if they decided to show something smaller, they may draw it as just like a dot or something like that. So this is fairly common. A lot of people enjoy working with vector because you can kind of draw things the different ways that you like it, and you can add in kind of different shapes. If you think of a blueprint, this is kind of what you can maybe think of a vector as, because that blueprint is the general shape of the building or of maybe the utility system that you're looking at. Whereas raster data is made up of pixels. So you can think about it a little bit like a picture. So we have that image of the real world example, and then on the far right, we have that raster image. So what they done is they took that picture and they broke it down into little even sections of squares, and then they filled in the squares with the appropriate matching data. Um, so if you think about maybe the way a picture, when you zoom into a picture too far and becomes pixelated, you're going to notice that the colors are associated with their kind of location and what they're trying to image. That is kind of the general idea of raster, and a lot of things can be done with raster because you're able to run those images through different types of filters, or like you're able to take those images with different types of cameras and kind of filters and different lenses. And so you're able to maybe run infrared imaging in which you can detect different types of vegetation, other than just, grabbing a picture and trying to distinguish trees from a bush. Raster helps you kind of work with that information. So there are a lot of different file formats that we can see coming out of these types. And please excuse me as my head's going back and forth. I have you guys on one screen and the presentation on another. And so what we were going here with vector data is a very common type that we're going to see are the Esri shape files. That is because the Esri, which is the company that runs and creates ArcGIS programs, and they're kind of the standard. They're very common. Lots of people work with them. Other sources use their can import and export shape files to try and make it very common. So one thing that is important is with a shapefile, you have to have the DBF and the SHX. These are special files that actually help the programs read and understand what the shape file is showing. So the shape file is the geometries, the SHX is the shape index positioning, so where it goes in the world, and then we have the attribute data. But if you prefer kind of more open source type files that can work with a lot of other programs, but maybe they're not as produced as often, I guess is what I would say, is we have things like the JSON, which is based off JavaScript. And we have our Google keyhole markup language. So a lot of times you'll see a KML, KMZ file on maybe when you're like on Google Maps or something like that. That's what they're using. And then there's another one that's called OpenStreet. Trust me, this is just a small caption of the different types of files and different types of programs that you can use. With vector files, I just kind of chose about 4 of the most common, at least the ones that I see fairly often. But I will say those Esri shape files are probably used the most. And then we have raster. Raster also has a variety. And again, you can think of these a little bit as images, but they are going to be very much based on, what type of image it is, heights, the lens that was used. They can get very particular. We're not going to spend in this workshop series in general. We don't really work with raster files just because that is going in a lot deeper into into GIS. And right now we're still kind of staying at that level that allows people to start getting familiar with the types of programs and the types of data that is going on. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to start exploring. Again, we're going to be looking at data.gov, Usgs, and just for fun, the Florida state file or Florida's official GIS portal. Since we're in Florida, I figure we kind of have to. It's kind of a joke. All right, so we're going to start with data.gov. So the website is literally data.gov. Nice, easy, simple to remember. Data.gov is a federal government open data site, and it aims to make the government more open and accountable. So opening government data increases citizen participation in governments, creates opportunities for economic development, and informs decision-making in both the private and public sectors. That is data.gov's like official, why are we here? This is what we do. So there's a lot of different things you can find on data.gov. I will say occasionally it does get muddy. And when I say muddy is because it's some of these data sources, they cover very big areas. And what that means is if you're looking for a very specific location, it may be under one of those kind of big data sets. And so then you're going to get a lot of things that aren't going to quite apply to you. So I will say it takes a little patience when you're working with data.gov. Just because you didn't find something on your first 1 or 2 searches doesn't mean there's not something in there for you. It just means maybe you need to take a second and rethink about how you're doing your searches. So obviously this is our homepage. We can look up, different types of topics. As you can see, they have our agriculture and climate, local government. They have kind of these big general sets. There's also, additional information such as resources and strategies, but we're going to go ahead and go straight to our data. And this is where we can search their data catalog. So all of the data that is uploaded to data.gov. I'd like to point out on the side here are side filters. So, if you're looking for local government data, things that are collected maybe in your county or in your state, maybe you're looking for information about older adult populations and so on. So we can get very specific with what we want. We can even choose our types of data sets, the formats that we were looking, the format that we want the data to come into. This can become very important depending on what programs you're using. So I just expanded it, and as you can see, Esri pops up, JSON. I just saw it. Yeah, our GeoJSON, again, Esri, the Google keyhole markups are somewhere in here. It drives me crazy that this is in alphabetical order, so I'm just gonna say that. Oh, there we go. There's our keyhole markup language. But that is a great thing. Oh, there we go. Now I have it sorted from A to Z. I apologize. I just didn't have it clicked to the right part. So we're able to get very specific if you know exactly what you're looking for. You can even do our organization types, who publish the data, and so on. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start exploring the records. So not gonna lie, I've looked this one up before, and that's why I'm able to pull it up fairly quickly. So we're looking for the US hourly. You know what? I'm going to, because I'm looking at my notes to remind myself what exactly we're searching for some of these. The hourly precipitation rates. All right. And even though we got pretty specific, we still have over 5,000 results. That's because they are going to be pulling from different organizations that have this type of information. They're going to be pulling maybe different types of precipitation rates and things like that. But we'll go ahead and we'll click on one to start. Just that way we kind of get a chance to look at what these records look like. So right here, we know that this is for the state of New York because they tell us that it's state data. Where it's coming from, it's considered a local topic. What's great is with these data.gov documents, they give you an explanation of what you should expect to find here and what's going on. They tell you when things were last updated, which can be very helpful if you were working with very time sensitive information where you need maybe the most up to date things. Knowing when it was last updated can be very vital. As we scroll down, they tell you about access, use, and information. This could just become important because when it comes time to potentially publishing something, you want to be able to say where you got your data and why you were allowed to use it. But then when we scroll down, this is when we start seeing how we can maybe download some of those files. As you can see, we have some options about downloading it a few different ways. And then we even have information about their landing page. So if I click visit page, what this should do is here we go, perfect. This brought me to where that data source kind of lives originally. So like where was it first kind of published and put out there before it had a connection to data.gov. So if you click on those visit sites, that might be a great way of finding additional information about the project, or even maybe another data source that didn't originally pop up right away when you did a search. Okay. And then as we scroll down, this is just more information that's going on with with this record. So it gives you really robust amount of information. That way you can hopefully determine fairly quickly if this is something that's going to work for you or not. All right, we're going to go back to our search. And something that I like to do is, because the default for data.gov is to order by popular. So what data sets are being used the most when you search that type of term. But that's probably not always going to be what you're looking for when you do a search. So if we switch it to relevance, now what we're going to be looking at, and I don't know why it keeps jumping down further down the page when we do this. When I search to relevance, Now I'm getting that US hourly precipitation reports um, that pretty much that matches the exact name I typed in. So that's a little quirk about data.gov is it defaults to popular. Just remember to sometimes to change it to relevance, and that can help speed up your search quite a bit. When I click here, again, we have our information. We're seeing that it's federal. And then what we have is our downloadable information. So I can just click our download button. And of course, I'm getting an error message. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so some of these will have, you have to accept their rights, their restrictions, their contracts. So this is what's going on here. But if I accept, what it's going to do is it's going to bring me to where that data is. This one happens to be, of course, it likes to not work when I am doing a live demo search.
Hey,
And yes, go ahead, Josh.
there was a question in the chat about the difference between ESRI REST and ESRI Layer 1.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to read that question.
I was just asking about the different like data types that you were showing us. I didn't know what the different Esri types were.
Yeah, so Esri has a lot, I'm not going to lie, to the point where knowing, unless you're working with those specific types of layers and those types of data types, you may not, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to know off the top of my head the difference. But if this is something that you would like to discuss more, I can definitely look it up and do a little research and we can have that that conversation. But off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries.
All right, okay, because I accidentally closed out of our browser. Let me redo this search real quick and change it to relevance. And let's check out this one. So this one was updated fairly recently. Okay, I think what was going on with that other program is they had a shortened, for some reason they had a time limit on when that page was available through the Esri online platform to download their information. But as you can see here, they have another additional page. So sometimes it just takes a minute to click through, find the ones you want, and to be able to download. But I could open this KMZ file, for example, with ArcGIS. I could do the data.gov preview, and I could view their map. So we have a lot of great options here for downloading our information. Okay. Are there any other general questions about data.gov and doing some searches here? Okay, not seeing any pop up right away. So we'll go ahead and we will go to our USGS. And I do want to say, while I'm using lots of examples through kind of environmental and things, I am always happy to, if any of you are not in environmental or science program or anything like that, I'm always happy to talk to you about finding data sets that are more relevant to what your research is. That is never something that I will turn down. So USGS is, again, another government website. It is a primary source for GIS information. So that means this agency collects, creates, and shares their information for people to access and use. This, once again, government websites love to have their little quirks. I'm not going to lie. So what you'll first notice here is you don't have the option to immediately search a topic, which can be rather frustrating, I know. So you kind of have to sometimes limit it down to their predefined occasionally, or, like specific areas to find exact data sets right there. However, what we can do is, let me show you one quick. Sorry, I'm just referring to my notes to make sure I'm actually showing you guys what I had planned to. So we're going to go ahead and go to mapping, remote sensing, and geospatial data. So this is going to get us to the information that we really want, and we'll apply that filter. There we go. Now what we're able to do is now we have, these are going to be data sets that are specifically, you know, about mapping, remote sensing, all that information. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the California State Water. And here we have, again, it's a record. We have abstracts. What's nice is they show you on the map with the little gray box, like, this is where we're looking for this information. Oops. And they even give you more information like what type of publication it is. For this one, it happens to be a report. You can even look at, you know, how many, the metrics of like how often this is being looked at. And then to download your citations or download the information, it's all coming up here under these types of indexes. However, I am going to show you guys a slightly different way to find and download data sets. So we're going to go back to our GIS data page. And let me click the reset button. Okay, so we're going to do a filter by location, and we'll go ahead and go down to Florida. And we'll apply our filter. And we want the National Maps small scale collection. Okay, this is going to come up if you search pretty much any other state, but because we're in Florida, it's pretty easy to just remember to do this one. And as you can see, it's a little bit different here. Because what it just did is they realized that we're looking for additional types of information. And so they brought us over here. So this is a different one. So we are going to click on our data set list right down here under their national maps. Again, I don't know why they don't make it nice and easy to get here right away. And data set lists. Oh, something I did forget to point out here is right under, where'd it go? Where is it? It does have the link to the data.gov website, but I think they just changed the name recently on here. I don't know why. Of course they think, oh, here we go. This is why I didn't see it. It's because it's on this page right here. Here's our data.gov right there. So this is findable in data.gov as well. So the first thing we can do is we can look at our US topos. And we'll click our more information. So what we have here is we have a variety of topo maps. So it's called the child item because it's held underneath this general record. And why are you doing this to me? Sorry, again, like I said, you guys sometimes kind of get my thought process as we go through this. And let's go ahead. We're going to search Florida in this. Helps when you spell things correctly. Click. Come on. And now my computer decided to be slow. Interesting. I wonder why I was doing that. I apologize, sorry. Of course, with our live demo searching, it loves to give me a little bit of trouble. So sometimes it does take a little bit clicking around. And my computer, of course, is deciding to be slow, because what I really want to show you guys is and if it doesn't come up, I'm going to just go directly to that page, which I'm thinking I might have to do. So basically, with that, I was trying to show that you have to explore the Usgs data or website, because they have so much national map downloader. Is it this one? Okay. What I was trying to do is with that one is show you, it takes a little bit of navigating and kind of exploring to really find the breadth of information that is stored on USGS. And I'm sorry, I even got myself a little lost, as you can see. I apologize about that. But they also have what is called the National Map Downloader, or the TNM. Which is pretty cool, because what you can do here is you can kind of explore. So for one, you have your choice of if you want like US Topo, maybe you want to look at historical maps. And then they have different types of data set. So like maybe you're looking at elevation or types of structures that are on the land. Sorry, I took a little too much of a breath, and then that kind of caught me in the throat. But what you can do is you can do areas of interest. So you can always search over here in this sidebar where it says like find address or place. Or something that I think is fun is you can click a point, you can enter coordinates, you could draw a specific shape. But I'm just going to click on extent, because that's kind of a rectangle. And I can highlight the area right around Florida. And then I click on this search products. Oh, my apologies. I forgot to click a data set that I was looking for. And now it will go through. And here we go. These are all different types of maps and data sets within that square that I had drawn. And as you see, as I hover over one in the list, it will show you on the map. And let me zoom in on the map a little bit for you guys. So here's our map. And it's going to highlight the sections or the areas where that is specifically covered. So this third one, if you notice, only that bottom corner of their coverage is really in the area, but they don't want you to miss out on that potential data set simply because it also extends further north. And what you can see here is we can zoom to that location using the little information over here. You can get the info and metadata, and we can download the zip file. So I just click download zip, and it is coming in right here. It is going to take a moment to download, but I'll show you guys kind of what pops up in those files once it actually finishes downloading. And then we can just kind of zoom back out. But as you can see, you can look at a lot of different pieces of information. We could even look at the thumbnail of what that area is pulling and pointing out to us. All right. I need to reshare my screen for a moment with you. That way you can actually see the little pop-up bar. Share. Okay, so this is what came up when I downloaded that file. So we have our little JPEG, and when I open up here, all of this information is necessary to read in to our is necessary for reading in our information. See, not gonna lie, I just kind of picked one at random right now, so I didn't actually look at what kind of file we were downloading. And that is because we downloaded what is known as a database. I just realized that from the GBD. We downloaded, so this would be a database that could be uploaded into something like QGIS or ArcGIS, and it will have a bunch of information to fit all of those points that we were trying to look at for the map. So all of that would contain all of the information that describes what's going on here. Now, I know this one was a little crazy with how I was doing the searches, so I want to pause for a moment and ask, are there questions about searching the USGS site, or maybe taking a look at the downloader? And you guys can always, do additional types. So if I just switch to boundaries, you'll notice we actually can find our shape files here. So let me search our products again. And here we have, here we have our different files here, which can be very neat. And again, I can download our file. Let me download this one because this one will actually have the shape file that I was looking for. What had happened is I had clicked one at random because I wanted to show you guys looking, and then I forgot the reason why I specifically look at the boundary data types. It was because I know there were shape files in there. I was just getting ahead of myself. So what's going to happen is when we download, this is obviously the zip file, and then this is the shape. And then we have all of this additional information in here. Okay, so all of this is describing that entire box. But the one that would be very important to us are these ones that are SHP. Those are those shape files that get put in. But if you notice, we have the SBN and the SHX, which are necessary for distinguishing those specific regions when we upload it into a GIS program. All right, and so like these ones are describing, it looks like the county or equivalent of the county. This portion would be incorporated places. Then we have our jurisdictions, minor civil divisions, our Native American areas. And so each of these groupings are different types of divisions that would be shown on as a potential layer for your GIS file. So that's what's going on there. All right. Okay. Now, I hope we're feeling good and I hope we're ready, because what we're going to go to the Florida Geospatial open data site. So I will say they kind of, there was one where it was the official state of Florida geography data portal, but, and I'll show you what happens. They have recently required for that hub required an ArcGIS login, which we don't all have. So, however, we can use this one and find their open data. And I will give them this. I do find this a lot easier to navigate than the data.gov and the USGS because they are much more condensed in area in which they're looking. So it's a little easier to do some searches. So you can search statewide. You could also explore their topics, which I think is great because sometimes maybe you're not exactly sure what you might want to do. So looking at their topics can be really helpful. And as you can see, they have a variety of big topics to look at, like our structures, transportation, planning, and surveys. I also like their little icons. Like I love this little helicopter. I think it's great. So we'll go ahead and we'll start there. So let's just start with environment. Why are you saying there are no results? There we go. Okay. We'll look under biology quick. So the wonderful thing here is, again, you have filters that you can apply. So if you want it to come from a specific source or to fit in a category, you can do that. If I click on this WMS flowing waters, and I give it a moment to load, again, they show us kind of the area, and then this box is the general area that they're covering. So they're kind of covering from Miami up to Tampa and kind of just hitting this bit of the panhandle just outside of Tallahassee, it looks like. Again, when I scroll down, we get a brief description. I will say this, they are not nearly as robust in telling you what exactly is always in this data set, unlike what you might see at data.gov or USGS. But what's nice is right here, they tell us our attribute names. So these are going to be the types of the pieces of information that are within that data set. So we know we have names and we have lengths, reporting units. And then they'll even let you know about some of the related data. If you want to take a quick peek at this data, excuse me, before maybe you commit to downloading it, if you just switch over to the data tab, they'll give you a preview of what those tables look like, to give you an idea if they are reporting the right type of information. So here we know we're looking at different streams, and these must be the links of the streams. And then I can come here and I can download my data. So if you want to, again, use Google, you would use the KML. If you were using, I shouldn't say just Google as KML, you can use KMLs in QGIS as well. But you could use the shape files to export. And they are going to look pretty much just like what we were looking at with the USGS, but I will show you real quick because it is going to be a much smaller data set. So as you can see, when we went in, we're still getting the shape, the DBF, and the SHX with that information, which is necessary to be using in our information or in our programs, not in our information. Okay. So like I said, you can search that way. We could even go back to the home page and we'll search Wakulla. The reason I have Wakulla in there is I was actually using some Wakulla data for a different project last semester. So that's why it was popping up. And as you can see, these are going to be information pertaining to Wakulla County. And these ones happen to be about the manatees. And they are also going to most likely cover some additional areas. So let's look at permit violations, coastal permit violations, I should say. And as you can see, even though we search Wakulla, all of these dots represent different locations that are going to be covered within that data set. And then when we scroll down, we can definitely see some information about that, because they are going to be telling us where those where first location, there we go, where the location of that what's the word, violation, thank you, I had to scroll up to remember what violation, where that violation took place. And again, if we just look at our data, we're going to kind of get a general idea of what that was going on or what was happening. And then what's neat is in this one, you could even like get a summary of the report of the violation, which is pretty neat. Okay. So that is our Florida Geospatial Open Data Portal. There's a lot of great stuff in here. If you need a little project for a class perhaps, and you don't want to get overwhelmed with a huge data set, maybe coming into something local like the state level, and a lot of other states have this type of information. For example, I'm not gonna, guys, or not gonna lie, guys, I am actually originally from Idaho. So if I typed in, for example, I went to Google and I did Idaho GIS data, and then I can go to the Idaho Geospatial office and look and see what kind of GIS data I am able to gather from there. They just happen to have their website set, their site set up a little different, where you kind of have to go through what government do you want, or what agency you want to look at, and then go kind of through there, or go through yeah, their agencies, and kind of work that way. So a lot of these websites, or all states are pretty much going to have something. It's just a matter of figuring out where they have their data and navigating their slightly different view of how to show that type of information. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and just ask, are there any questions, or if there is anything that I did not cover that you would like me to talk about now, I would be happy to do so. Just let me know. All right, well, if there are no more questions, that's all I have for you guys today. Please come again. And I'm happy to talk to you guys at any time.